This content is brought to you in part by Supreme Auctions, the only luxury auction company recommended by the Institute. Supreme Auctions is widely recognized as the first auction company to design a program to work alongside and in partnership with luxury real estate professionals and their clients. Go to supremeauctions.com to learn more. So welcome, David. It's so nice to have you here with me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about Real Marketing and David Collins.
Real marketing really began as, long story short, I grew up in the advertising world. And most of us remember when digital moved in. For the real estate world, it's a really easy benchmark here, and that is when MLS books first came out. When that happened, our industry went from 200 million to zero. And as most boys do, I called mom and said, what do I do? And of course, mom's an agent. And she said, why don't you become an agent? And I lived in Marin County, California, which was very expensive. Mind you, I was renting, and it was a single dad to an 18-month-old. And I became an agent. And after 3 years, I was the #1 agent, RE/MAX agent in Marin County.
Wow.
And I just didn't like that side of the business. But agents are saying to me, David, how in the world did you get all these listings as a rookie? I said, well, out of ignorance, I said, my marketing experience is working on incredibly $7 million marketing campaigns on a pair of jeans.
Right.
And so the brochures and the marketing that these companies would do to market inexpensive products, I just thought was human nature. And so when I got in the real estate world, I do books on properties that I want a listing appointment on. Anyway, long story short, I really disliked the selling side of it and decided that I would start a company that would help agents become as successful as I was. And I moved to South Florida. Just geographically, it made sense. There was a lot of gated, expensive communities in the consolidated area, that or Newport Beach. And ultimately, I chose South Florida. And I started Real Marketing and providing agents with the same high-quality marketing materials that I used to leverage their current listings and to get more listings. A lot of agents we took from fairly good price points up into the luxury market over time, which took time. Long story short, after 10 years, somebody offered me more money than I could say no to, and I sold it. And in a moment of absolute insanity, I started a high-end boutique brokerage in Palm Beach County in Florida, which is and 30
moment
agents.
Of insanity.
Yeah, total insanity. And 3 years later, the largest broker there, Lang Realty, bought us out. And in 2007, I moved to San Diego. Started in my kitchen, again, by myself, and providing the same marketing materials. Some interesting things happened, though. There's a fun story to this part, is that when I got to San Diego, I figured out who the good agents were, and I always say maybe they're not the good agents, but they were making good money.
Right.
Because there's a difference there.
Right.
And I said to them, I said, this is what I did in Florida, and this is and they were like, no, this isn't going to work. So I picked the most expensive community in San Diego, which was Rancho Santa Fe.
Yep.
And I did our luxury market report on consignment, so to speak. Here's the deal. I made with two very well-known agents. I said, you have no business in this community. I'm going to do this luxury market report for you every single month, and you're going to give me 25% of your commission as a referral fee. And they were like, we have nothing to lose. We have no business in there. 14 months later, and $83,000 my way, they didn't like the deal anymore.
Right.
Which was funny because they made about $450,000. Nonetheless, that was the beginning of what is now. We own our own building at this point. It's 9,000 square feet. We have 51 employees. We have a very large printing facility in New York that handles Canada and the eastern United States, and an office in Vancouver. We service 47 states. Wow. I was in Hawaii 2 weeks ago doing a seminar, from Hawaii to Alaska, and all the provinces across Canada.
How different is the company that's in San Diego? How different is it than what you launched in Florida?
In Florida? Really good question. So when I went to Florida, what I would do for agents was I was really much more of a fulfillment house. They would say, we want a just listed card, we want a property brochure, we want a postcard, we want, Happy Halloween going out. And I know, now I laugh. And silly me, I actually took those orders, right? Well, I was starving,
Business,
right?
yeah.
It was a business. I took the order. When I sold the company, my stepfather said, "Are your clients any more successful after being with you for 10 years than when you started with them?" And I said, "I don't know, but I can check." I just went into MLS and we looked, and they weren't.
Right. Wake up call.
Wake up call. I was mortified. I was absolutely mortified. So when I started the second time, I said, everything that we do for an agent must be measurable. So literally, of the 1,600 clients we have, we literally measure their success. So you can say, David, I want you and your company to make me the #1 agent in Atlantic City on the ocean. And I'm going to go into MLS before we even start our relationship, find out how much business you have there, and then we're going to monitor and track it. So at the end of a year, you can say, or 3 months, 6 months, we can look at what we're doing for you and adjust it. The coolest thing about it is now, as it's grown, is like we literally have 1,600 clients. We put out 5.5 million pieces a year. We can test certain things. So I actually pay for marketing for 3 different agents, one in Vancouver, one in Arizona, and one in Texas, all 1,000 homes each. One in Arizona
And that's
is
your
actually
test?
It's a test.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and so we pay for that, and then they give us a little part of the commission.
Sure.
But we can test things. So I can say, oh, wait, let's try this, let's try that. One of the things we recently come up with on the report that that luxury market report that we do, for many, many years, I was just this huge stickler, and I'm a real stickler and anti-templated kind of guy. I think templates are the kiss of death in our industry. Not going to mention names, but I just think it's really, really bad. I know it's bad. I don't even think it's bad. I think that, so when we do these market reports that we've done for like the last 12 or 13 years now, since 2007, our agents have really good success. What we just figured out how to do was how to automate it so that we, like literally 14 people touch every single one of those market reports. Well, I went to my IT guys and said, hey, can you automate this? And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, I don't want 14 people touching. I want 4, 5. And that includes accounting.
Right.
And he took 4 or 5 months and he came back and he goes, I did it. And I said, great. Now you got to imagine, I'm talking to an IT geek.
Right.
And I'm like,
because that's what's required.
Oh, and I love him to death. Ray is just phenomenal. And I said, Ray, now go design the market report. He goes, what do you mean? I'm not a designer. I said, that's the point. I want to see if we automate this and get it out there, can I drop it from what usually takes 3 days to do? And he said, David, I did it in 12 minutes.
Wow.
So the interesting part about that is, and then of course we reduced the price dramatically. It's significantly less and more affordable. But the interesting thing was we had a client in New Jersey that we beta tested it with, and he'd run with our custom market reports for years, and he did fairly well. We went to the automated report, and in the first month he got 2 listings, and he's got 2 more appointments.
Interesting.
Because we took him
Out of the
picture. We took our 20 some odd years and said, what's the best content we can put in here and make it as effective as possible and let you go do what you do, and that's sell real estate. And it doesn't matter if it's luxury or one of my best clients is a $65,000 retirement community in Boynton Beach, Florida.
Wow.
1,600 homes. Just crushes it.
Yeah.
Been with me for many, many years.
Well, that's an interesting part of your business. I know when we met, I was intrigued by that because you are one of the few companies that can really operate across all homes, right? Your luxury things, when we touch them, they touch and feel and look all like luxury. But you carry that same feel, but it's not
Correct.
necessarily at that price point. And so, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about our relationship because I think it's unique.
Yes.
I didn't know you, and I met you
in Texas.
in Texas.
Never
I
forget
said,
it.
Wow, this is very interesting.
I should tell them how you approached me.
I'm scared of that.
I would be.
Yeah, it's and so I learned about what you do, and then we got together and said, how do we help? How do we and that was another thing that I really liked about you was you really do approach your business in how do I help an agent? Right? How do I help this person do what they want to do and maybe do it better, right? So we produce with you a luxury market report that's available in 70 cities to all of our agents.
Correct.
But what you're talking about when you talk about this customized or even templated market report, that's turnkey. That's you doing everything.
Correct.
So I think we can get granular on this. I want the folks listening to understand the difference between what we produce as the Institute and then ask folks to go and disseminate, right, and use the data. But then you step in, should agents want to, and do this market report. So can you talk about how you can help them dominate that way?
Sure. I think that the biggest difference between the luxury report we do, and I'm going to use San Diego. I know we do that city, 70 cities. If you get our luxury, your luxury, because we do it for you, but it's yours. Your luxury report, it does an overview of all of the communities in San Diego. And one of the interesting statistics, so NAR statistic, just came out last year. It said 78% of homeowners would work with a neighborhood expert if there was one. And 20 years ago, there was a neighborhood expert in every community prior to the internet coming out. That's a whole nother conversation.
Interesting.
So a classic example is Greg Newman, downtown San Diego. So we do this beautiful luxury report for you. It covers San Diego, Del Mar, La Jolla, Rancho Santa Fe, and so on. Greg's office is in downtown. The luxury market report that we do for him isn't one. He literally does a luxury market report for every single building, and every building gets a unique piece with their actual data. It's that granular.
Wow.
We're down to 300 homes. Del Mar Country Club, we've talked a couple times about today. It's 143 homes. Those homeowners actually get a beautiful 4-page luxury market report on just their community. Because here's the truth of the matter, and I live downtown in the Harbor Club, right? I didn't care what the building at the Electra was selling for, because I lived in the Harbor Club. I didn't want all that information. What I wanted was, what's my building worth? What's my neighborhood worth? What's my school district? We're working on one right now, phenomenal, in Minnesota. Talk about different markets, right?
Right,
Downtown Santa to Minnesota.
Right.
And it's literally just a school district where these people just live and die for this just triple-rated, A-rated school. And so the market report is granular to just homes in that school district, that high school. Literally, that high school alone.
So have you done that before? I hadn't heard that story from you. That's pretty interesting.
It's a beautiful one. It's the second time we did it. The first one we did was Ashley Falls in San Diego. And it was an elementary school that was just, everybody died to get into. I mean, they just wanted to. And so we did this, the market report was literally called Ashley Falls, the name of the elementary school. That agent ran with it for about 8 years and then retired. That's how much money she made. I mean, she just, there's not a lot of agents that can retire that I know of, but she did really. Well, if you think about it, if I have 2 kids and they're in the grade elementary school and now we have a third, I need a bigger house, but I don't want my kids going to a lesser school.
Right.
So now I just want to know, like, okay, if I sell my house here, where can I buy in the school district?
So would the agents that you work with market to adjacent school districts? Like, could they use the report for that? Because I still, when we say use the report, I mean, I want us to get granular to say, you put it in the mail.
Right.
And you drop it in the mailbox. It's all on you. It is completely turnkey.
Well, we do all that for them.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And every single one of our market reports is personalized with the homeowner's name, which most people don't know about direct mail.
Right.
So it never goes to Dear Neighbor. It says Tom and Susie. And then the call to action says, Tom and Susie, if you'd like a nicer home and still stay in the school district, call me. But now I like your theory. So the young lady that we're working in Minnesota, ironically, when my niece is selling their house.
Okay.
And they're having a hard time. And so I contacted their agent in Minnesota and said, tell me about this. And she said, it's a great school district and it's expensive. It's $1 million home in Minnesota.
In St. Paul, Minneapolis.
Yeah, St. Paul, Minneapolis. Yeah, expensive. And so one of the strategies I'm going to actually start with her is marketing the school district, which she loves. But I'm also going to look at lesser priced homes in a lesser school district. Right next door, and we know we've identified it.
Yeah.
So their house is $1 million. I'm going to go look at $700,000 sellers in a lower school district, get them to want to buy this house. Now my luxury agent is going to list this house, and they're going to get another side to it. Once they get that luxury listing, we're going to market it within the school district, or 1,000, 1,200 homes, and the other homeowners start to see, oh my gosh, this is a luxury agent. I'm going to make a delineation here. There's 2 very, very clear trains of thought in our industry. It's luxury and non-luxury. In the non-luxury, the homeowner's number one concern is, have you ever sold anything in this neighborhood? In luxury, it's very clear. Have you ever sold anything in this price point? it's what makes this luxury market so difficult to break into, because it's a catch-22.
Yep.
It's the cart before the horse, or the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to do it. This is a classic way of doing it, is working in the price point just below luxury. And because those people will become luxury buyers. Those are your next luxury buyers. So I also think that it's
That's
important.
great, David.
Yeah, I think that because we are in the education. You say I like to help. I live by a saying that if you help enough people get what they need, you'll always have what you want, and that's been true for me. Yeah, just lost my train of thought because that's ADD. I should be an agent. It's just part of the prerequisite.
So this idea of breaking in the neighborhood right below luxury.
Yeah.
Keep going on that, because it's good. It's
a
really great strategy.
It is. It's a strong strategy, and it's a 2-3 year strategy.
So when you work the level right below luxury,
Yep.
you are now building your pipeline, because those
Correct.
people are going to be your next luxury buyer.
Right.
Right. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So how do you help people do that? Is it different?
It's different in every market, so it's going to be a price point. Here's how I tell agents to figure it out. We have incredible property brochures. I have property brochures that are 22 inches long and don't fold. But I said, give me a price point in which, in your market, you would choose to do a beautiful property brochure. And as you know, I do seminars all over the country, every imaginable price point. In Wisconsin, that number is $450,000. In West Vancouver, it's $2.5 million. So at $450,000 in Wisconsin or $2.5 million in British Columbia, that's the price point in which they do nice marketing. That if you're gonna be in the luxury market, you're going for the game. That's their ante. Really easy. The price point just below where all the agents decide to do luxury marketing, that's where you want to start. So in San Diego, it's 1.2 million.
Okay.
I work with agents, and my best coaching advice is I want you in the $800,000 price point. Here's why. First of all, $800,000 versus $1 million, that commission is really fairly close. And all the agents that are selling the $800,000 houses aren't doing good marketing,
Right.
because it's not at the 1.2. It's an unfeathered rule in our industry. It's like it's written into your courses. Is that okay? 1.2 is, that's all we're doing.
Right.
Anything below that, we're not spending that kind of money. And so these $800,000 sellers see that you're doing incredible marketing, as well as keeping them updated with our monthly market report. So you do the market report and a property brochure. Now you sell that, and now you've got them up into that 1.2. We'll use San Diego as an instance. Now we take that and create if possible, even a nicer property brochure, and you literally mail the property brochure. Now, I'll share 2 stories with you about mailing property brochures, and you guys can all verify them.
And define it. Like, what do you mean when you say a property brochure?
When I say a property brochure, it's no less than 4 pages, 11 by 17, on cardstock, UV coated, sometimes a foil. They'll be like the header will be in foil. It just depends on how expensive it is. I always say, don't take a Ferrari to a Volkswagen race, you'll look foolish. If you take a Volkswagen to a Ferrari race, you look hopeful. But so you don't want to, so you have to, and this is, I think, where marketing expertise, and I'm not going to say myself an expert, just I've been in the business so long that I've made more mistakes than anybody else could afford to make. Right. So we'll leave it at that. But I'll give you a couple of classic examples. Premier Estate Properties in South Florida. They started in Boca Raton when I was in South Florida 20 some odd years ago. And they had a slogan that they exclusively represented homes in excess of $1 million. Now, I'm going to give you their numbers and then tell you the strategy. So over the next 8 years, there were 500 homes. So we're going back 20 years. There were 500 homes that had sold for over $1 million. They took 400 of them, the listings. This is a small little mom and pop, 2 kids and a daughter group. This is not a big national brand in Boca Raton, Florida, a fairly good-sized company. This was their only strategy. Every single listing, without exception, they printed 1,000 property brochures and mailed them to high-end homeowners. So they first get in the business and they've got 1 listing, and then 2 months, 3 months later, they get another one. Now all of a sudden they start getting this momentum. Now they're pulling 50 listings a year. Every single time to this day, they still take 1,000 property brochures and mail them. So you're getting 50 property brochures on all of these high-end listings from these agents, and let's go back to what's the homeowner's number 1 concern in luxury, have you ever sold anything in this price point? They're demonstrating it
Every day.
every day. And they don't even have to say, look at me.
So this idea of mailing, right? So how are you targeting that?
So you can do, well, neighborhood is fairly easy. And I always say, and neighborhood is interesting. I don't want our audience to think that we're talking gated subdivision communities.
Right.
Because you go to where I grew up in New Jersey, it's a township with 6,000 homes.
Right.
So how we define a neighborhood is, if I ask 3 people, where do you live? However they reply, let's say they say East Jersey, for conversation's sake. That's great. So that becomes the title of the market report. So it's hyper local to them and what they're really concerned about. It's why we get a bank statement. It's why we get our retirement account, right? We're checking the asset and the value. And if we know 78% of homeowners would deal with the neighborhood experts, if there was one, I'm also demonstrating to each of those homeowners that I'm clearly the neighborhood expert, because I provide you with this market report. And by the way, we build an entire website around the market report around that community. So the website, actually, we do believe in web, but you have to have the print and the web. It has to be both. And our websites are they're gorgeous. They're 8, 9 pages, all schools, activities, events, anything you could ever want. So if you, as an agent, as you portray yourself as the neighborhood expert, we already know. I'm going to back up. I've told you twice now, I'm going to tell you the last time. 78% of homeowners would deal with a neighborhood expert if there was one. Here's the crazy thing, Diane. That was true 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30, 40, and 50 years ago. That statistic has never changed in Realtor.com. What's changed is our thinking that 97% of home searches start online. And that's what I'm going to do on my marketing, because that's where all the searches start. And that's not true. Because people don't buy homes. The 5%, according to NAR, 5% of homeowners actually found their agent online. And 10 years ago, it was exactly 5% as well. That needle has not moved. Nobody's been able to figure out how to move that. Now, buyers, it's more like 7.8%, but sellers only 5%. So you need to have that presence. I can't emphasize that enough. I'm not here to trash it. I'm just saying, give it the value it's due. When, if you and I are driving down the freeway and we hear some ad about something, what do? We go to the internet. We check it out. It's about validation. So when my clients, homeowners, hear about Susie Smith, who's the neighborhood expert, and they go to the website, guess what? Susie Smith's neighborhood expert that says she sells all of Phoenix isn't anywhere to be found. She has that one. She uses it in every other location other than that neighborhood. When they go to that website, it's all about Susie Smith and their neighborhood. So what I've done is I've reinforced the fact that she is indeed the neighborhood expert.
And you have a strong belief that you have to have both. This idea especially in, we're going to call it the upper tier, because really you're also describing that level below luxury, right?
Right.
Because that's where they can really have a beachhead, right?
Yes.
And so this idea that I live in that home and I'm going to reach into my mailbox and I'm going to touch something that feels a lot like the mailer that I get from the Ritz-Carlton.
Correct. And
right?
looks.
And looks.
Like a Tiffany's brochure. Yes.
Yes. And so we're establishing and demonstrating her expertise physically first.
Correct.
Yeah, because it's really hard to get to that place online. Right, there's something really fabulous about the materials
Tactile.
you produce. Yeah, it's tactile.
Yeah, and here's a crazy statistic. So in London, they did this incredible study. It was like 5 years on direct mail, and they like thousands of homeowners, and they got 100 homeowners to agree to put cameras in the living room and the kitchen. Right, just what they're trying to do is trying to track what happens to direct mail and is it effective. So this is a massive study, and ultimately they ran it up against TV, radio, social, and digital. And by far, direct mail outwon in all categories. What do you believe most? Who are you more likely to do business with? But here was to everybody's bewilderment was the crazy thing. They broke the groups up into millennials, baby boomers, and seniors. And they asked them the same group of questions. Here was the last question they asked. Of all of these mediums, which one do you believe most? Which one do you trust the most? One of those groups picked direct mail. Which one do you think it was? Baby boomers?
I want to say baby boomers, but I think you're going to tell me it's millennials.
It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely was. 78% of the millennials said that they believed in direct mail more so than the internet. They really had concluded the study, and so they had to go back and say, wait a second, we need to go find out what happened here. So they went back to the millennials, and the millennials were a little flippant and go, look, we created it. We understand that you can put whatever you want on there. We've also become brilliant at blocking messaging. How many of us get up in the morning, get a cup of coffee, and don't do this? Check, 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 trash. Right? We've managed to filter all that stuff out. Here's the other side. Millennials represent about 33% of the buyers right now on the market. How many times, if you know a millennial, have they ever received a 4-page printed piece with their neighborhood on it and their name and their spouse's name on it in their life? Their moms send them Christmas cards on the Facebook.
Right, right.
So there's something tactile. They love it. I mean, to them, it's like a gift.
Right.
It's really amazing.
So this idea of tactile, and I know we teach this in our course as well, that the real estate professional is for that buyer or seller. Really, what they're accustomed to is their experiences with other luxury brands.
Correct.
And how important it is that you are felt and thought of in the same way.
Oof.
Right? So Gucci or Tiffany or Four Seasons or all of these.
Your high-end cars is a classic.
Right, right.
I do, in the seminars I do, I often talk about this story, which I love. So, as you know, I married Sandy 5 years ago, and she had an older BMW. And she got this thing in the mail that says, trade in your old one, get a new one, lower your payments. I'm like, honey, this is, I don't. But I was a good husband-ish, and I took her. Down Memorial Day, I said, the first thing we're doing is first thing in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, we're going in. The ish part-ish, I was absolutely right. They were not giving her a new car for less money,
right.
But I left with a new car, which didn't go over well, but it's all right. It all worked out in the end. But I asked the car dealer, the manager, I said, what's the nicest car you have here? And he says, well, we have the nicest one we have on the lot. It's a 740 Li. He said, they make the 750, now the 760. But he says, that's the one we have. I said, you have a brochure on it. And he handed me this brochure. And if you've ever seen a brochure on a 740 Li or a Mercedes S550, they're incredible. Now, what's the value of that car? $120,000, $140,000, $150,000? Isn't that the car that your luxury homeowner's buying? What product or service does your luxury seller sell? Does he own the BMW dealership? Is he an accountant? What kind of brochure does he or she go to work and see every day on the products and services they sell?
Right.
Versus the products and services they see in our industry. So to answer your question, I think it's absolutely critical. You're dead in the water if you can't. And I think that the days of the 4-page, fold over, I'm everything.
Right.
It's the same statement everybody's making. 4-page fold over. Why not go 6-page? Why not go trifold? Why not go bigger? Why not go smaller? Right. I think that you need to change it up so that it becomes elegant. And it differentiates you from the rest of the brands. There are some brands that mandate that all their agents use exactly the same brochure. I don't think it's good.
And so on this property brochure,
Yep.
You also, that's the minimum 4 pages that you're talking about right now. But then there's this, listing book.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Again, back in this concept of the BMW is $140,000, and that book is, in your world, $25, $50. Well, if I've got a $3 million home and you show me something that cost you $4, it doesn't
equate.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect. And I always say that, showing up in a listing presentation that was spiral bound, everybody knows, including the person on the other side of the table, that you just whip that out in the kitchen at the office.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it just reeks of lack of professionalism. Here's my favorite strategy with listing book. And if you go to our website, you'll see them. But we make these beautiful listing books that you can actually, I believe if you get 6, they're $29.
Yeah.
But they're the $25 book like Mercedes has or BMW.
Exactly.
Right? So this is a beautiful book. You take that listing presentation that we will put together for you, and we have incredible content because we've worked with so many brands over 30 years. They'll make it more affordable. Long story short, put it in a black envelope and address it with a silver Sharpie. The black envelopes, by the way, you can get it. Just go to our website. We'll tell you. Any Grangers or not Grangers, not Staples. Anyway, one of those. You just Google black envelopes and put the homeowner's name on it and leave it on the front door and text them. And here's the text. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I've left my listing presentation on your front door. I would like you to review it prior to our meeting this coming Thursday, because I would like to spend that time discussing how we're going to get your home sold versus about me. So what if I'm ever credited with anything, is thinking how the competitor is and how I'm going to work. So now watch what happens. Susie Smith, who has sold $50 million homes in the neighborhood, walks in and sits there and talks for 2 hours about herself.
Yep.
And I walk in and say, did you get my listing presentation? And they say, yes. Did you read it? They say, yes. Even if they didn't,
Right, they're
it's
going to
okay.
say this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because now the conversation is going to be about, what are we going to do to get your home sold? What do you like about this home? I'll tell you a great story, which when I first started the company in San Diego, I got this opportunity to do this marketing on this beautiful house overlooking the ocean with this incredible pool. There was like a waterfall coming behind the master bedroom, under the bed, out through the pool, and then there was the ocean. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I had photography, and we're guiding the photographers. We get all said and done. We put together this 8-page brochure that is just to die for. And we bring it to the homeowner, and it's like we shot their children. I was like, what in the world? What did I do wrong? And they go, you missed the most important shot of the house. I'm like, well, what is that? Well, you see that little table with the 2 chairs right there in front of that little tiny window? That's where we sit every morning and have coffee and watch the ocean. And you missed it. Guess what we did?
Back?
Redid it.
Yeah.
So I think it's important when the agents are working, and this is us working with our clients, is, ask, instead of talking about yourself, and listen, show me, what do you like about this house? Why did you buy this house? Why this one instead of the one up the street? So you get them talking about why they like the house. The other thing this does is it teaches, it'll show you in a listing appointment. So Diane, if I sit here and you and your partner or your spouse, I say, why'd you buy this house? What did you like about the neighborhood? Now you go down this list of justifying this huge purchase, and you're going to have some justification. Now I start talking about getting your home sold. And one of the things you told me in your presentation was, well, you like the fact that it was close to a great school district, or maybe a golf course, a spa, right? And so when I start talking about marketing your home, I go, you know what I think a great place to market this house would be? Is perhaps the membership of the golf course. Because that's what they told you why they moved there. So you're going to take that information and feed it back. You have to be careful. You have to be professional. It can't be cheesy,
Right.
over and over and over again. Yeah.
That's really good. One of the other questions we get as we continue to speak about the use of the market report, et cetera, and the property brochures is how much should I spend? Right, I get that question, and I'm not going to put you on the spot with it.
No,
but
please
I do. No,
I love this question more than is one. Well, you know me, I love all questions in this industry because they've been asked that. Okay, so I'm going to give you my 2 cents worth, and I'll challenge anybody on it. Any speaker or any coach who actually gives you a percentage knows nothing about running a business. So, as you know, Tony Robbins interviewed 700 businesses. Had one join him on stage in London, and that was us. It was me with him. It was because of how we run our business and how we manage our clients and their business. So if you say, David, how much money should I spend on marketing my market report and the property brochure, the first question should be, how much money are you looking to make? Because that's all it is. It's dollars and cents. If you put in X and you get Y, all I got to do is divide Y into how much you want to make, and that'll tell me how much you need to spend. If you don't have it, you have to borrow it, right? Or you have to start smaller and then go up into it. I'm going to tell you, our clients typically it's about 7 times return, so that would be about an 18%. Like Greg Newman spent $330,000 with us last year, which one of our largest clients.
Sure.
Made $3.9 million.
Yeah.
Lisa Groth spent $7,200, right, and made $350, $360, right. Chris Anderson, who you know, a member of the Institute, has now, she went to Sedona with us, and she's a dear friend. She introduced me to my wife. She said, I want you to do my marketing. I said, this time, because last time she didn't, I'm picking the neighborhoods. And we picked the neighborhood 1, neighborhood 2, and now neighborhood 3. 4.5 years later, she is the #1 agent in all of Sedona, and she has no bricks and mortar. She works out of her house.
That's right. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
So that's the market report. All we did, because Chris had no presence. She didn't know anybody. And if you've ever been to Sedona, it's about as cliquey as a big pen.
Sure.
It's horrible, right? Everybody knows everybody. And so but it took her 4.5 years, but she broke into it. and she did well. But that's the power of, so she did one price point just below the luxury.
Yeah.
And the next one we did is we looked at gated communities. Now, the challenge with gated communities in small towns is there's maybe 50 or 60 homes. So how do you get enough homes to have enough turnover rate to make any money? We created Sedona behind the gates and took all the gated communities of 40 and 50 homes and put them into one market report. And Chris dominates.
That's brilliant. That's
Dominates
really
that
brilliant.
market.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good. That's a great answer to the question that we both get.
Yes.
So, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back for part 2.
Okay.
And in part 2, we're going to talk about another strategy that you kind of talk about, and that is, how do you take the property that you just listed and sold and use it?
Perfect.
Right? How do you leverage that?
Got it.
So we'll be back.
All right. Thank you.
This content is brought to you in part by Supreme Auctions, the only luxury auction company recommended by the Institute. Supreme Auctions is widely recognized as the first auction company to design a program to work alongside and in partnership with luxury real estate professionals and their clients. Go to supremeauctions.com to learn more.